All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to Unit 5. This is Team 1. This is Jessica, Kathy, Mara, and Caitlin. This week, I read the 2017 Horizon Report, the K through 12 edition, and my focus was through the difficult challenges. I really started to attach to the role of the teacher, where it discussed that the role of the teacher is changing. It is changing every day, and that the role of the teacher is not the same as it was 10 years ago, as it was 5 years ago, or even in the last year, that teachers have had to become experts in technology, more so than just their educational craft. So you might need to be an expert not only in your content, but now just the digital side of our world. I also noted there was a section about teacher-powered collaborative leadership. I found it very interesting that teachers collaborating was spearheading the technology advances on campuses, including the professional learning. The ISTE standard that I connected the most with this week was with the educational leaders, administrators with 3.5 as a connected learner, and then also for educators just to be leaders and collaborators within their context.
Okay, this week I read the 2016 K-12 Horizon Report. In this report, it talks about many things, but the ones that I want to focus on are that the aging infrastructure of the schools are making it difficult for the students to learn. It is not safe for the students to be in a classroom that has, let's say, leaks, or the walls are not okay, that they're damaged, things like that. How the classroom looks affects the student. The student will not be engaged if the classroom is not in a, like, let's say, good way. Also, the report explains that flexible learning environments increase the engagement if the students are able to sit, like, in those like chairs that you can move it around, or the balls, things like that that they use in the elementary schools. That increases the engagement for the students because it's something new for them and it's something that they can explore and learn more. And then I have the corporate learning and independent work is the key. The report explains that students have to work together and they also need to have time to work independently. If the students don't get a good mixture of the two, they will not have a good engagement and a good grade on their assignments. And also, the report talked about coding. Coding has increased lately in the classrooms, and the report says that coding needs to be included in the classroom, that students need to be able to have a class that they can learn coding, because coding is going to change the world, basically. And then finally, the report also explains that they want to maximize the creative opportunities for the students. And then on the right side, you can see the standards that I connected to.
Great. I read the 2020 EDUCAUSE Horizon Report. This was the teaching and learning edition. So similar to what you talked about, the key trends, this is the part where they kind of pivoted the way that they present the information. So rather than presenting the level of challenges, they started presenting the technologies and then providing a scale of things like risk, cost, how this would impact social and equity issues and teachers' receptiveness to the changes, so that it would provide a bigger picture on some of the issues. So it talked about several, but I wanted to focus on adaptive learning and open educational resources, because I think these are really interesting and prevalent to a lot of different areas of education. So for the adaptive learning, what was really interesting is that this offers, a really high impact in the classroom, but it comes at a really high cost. So getting these technologies in that, or working with the students and they change and they address, they can manipulate the course based on the level of if success of the student in the course, these are really expensive technologies and there's a high training cost to get teachers comfortable with them. But there's really no risk to doing it. So that's kind of the other half of the coin. So they've been really shown to be really effective in learning environments and adding these digital learning environments. But another problem with it is its teachers are really not very receptive to it. It's a scary thing. So I just thought that issue was particularly interesting because of the big contrast between how successful it will be, but still how many barriers there are to implementing it. The other one I thought was really interesting was the open educational resources. So this is thinking things like free textbooks that you can download online, all sorts of different, like a citation machine that you use on the internet, all of these resources that people of all different backgrounds would use. They're really high impact. They impact the learning environment drastically. They help students achieve much higher levels of success. And they have a really good score on that metric for the equity. So, by having a lot of different resources coming from a lot of different people and a lot of different designers, you're not reinforcing biases unintentionally by having them only be coming from one voice. And they're relatively low cost to implement. Somebody creates a PDF, it's almost like a teachers pay teachers kind of thing, except you don't pay. You upload your resource that you create and someone downloads it. But the caveat here is it's hard to gather all that information, like who is responsible for gathering all of this, assessing what's a great technology, what's a great resource, and how do I distribute it to people who would use it. So again, that's one of like the challenges for it. And as we were saying before, it often is the responsibility of the educator. And in addition to just teaching, it comes back to, you don't just teach anymore. You are a curator of materials. You are a technological master. You are implementing adaptive learning strategies. So I think successful implementation is really going to require a dedicated role to these tools, like a librarian being in charge of specific resources for open resource access. So ultimately, it connects with the educator as a collaborator standpoint, and I'm going to pass it off.
So just some final thoughts here. I really love the way you talked about just that role changing, and even Jessica, as you last mentioned, we are going to need other people to take on these roles. It can't be up to the educator themselves. And I was just thinking specifically on my campus about how lucky we are to have a learning technology coach that is on top of already having a campus technician working with specific technology, but then a learning technology coach walking alongside us as educators with new resources. And then even our librarian with the makerspace and bringing in that coding that Rumara was talking about. That's something that we do daily in our makerspace, where they have different robots and coding systems where our librarian is no longer just in charge of books, that they are a huge integral piece in our technology right now. So thank you for bringing that up. Yep. So just some final thoughts here. Are there any other final thoughts from Jessica or Mara today?
No, other than I enjoy our conversations like always.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everybody.